Yeah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الصلاة والسلام على خاتم الأنبياء وسيد المرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وتب علينا يا مولانا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. وبعد, we give praise and we give thanks to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for bringing us together yet again for another session of studying His Word and bringing us together in this blessed gathering. We ask that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bless our gathering and that He would bless us with understanding and to be able to benefit from His Word, and that He would let us leave this place fully forgiven because of our attendance to a gathering of dhikr. Because Rasulullah says that there is no group of people who gather together in the houses of Allah, يَتْلُونَ كِتَابَ اللَّهِ, reciting the book of Allah, and they are studying it among themselves, except Allah sends down sakina on them. Allah envelops them in His mercy, and the angels also descend in this, as Rasulullah tells us, that the angels attends such gathering. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless our attendance and benefit us with our session today. We went up to ayah 82 in our last session, so inshallah we continue from 83 today, inshallah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. قال بل سولت لكم أنفسكم أمرا فصبر جميل عسى الله أن يأتيني بهم جميعا إنه هو العليم الحكيم. وتولى عنهم وقال يا أسفا على يوسف وابيضت عيناه من الحزن وهو كظيم. قالوا تالله تفتأ تذكر يوسف حتى تكون حردا أو تكون من الهالكين. قال إنما أشكو بثي وحزني إلى الله وأعلم من الله ما لا تعلمون. يا بني اذهبوا فتحسسوا من يوسف وأخيه ولا تيأسوا من روح الله إنه لا ييأس من روح الله إلا القوم الكافرون. فلما دخلوا عليه قالوا يا أيها العزيز مسنا وأهلنا الضر وجئنا ببضاعة مزجاة فأوفي لنا الكيل وتصدق علينا إن الله يجزي المتصدقين. The English translation reads, Then he, Yaqub, said, Nay, but yourselves have beguiled you into something, so patience is most fitting for me. Maybe Allah will bring them all back to me. Truly He alone is all-knowing, all-wise. And he turned away from them and said, Alas, my grief for Yusuf. And he lost his sight because of the sorrow that Esau was suppressing. They said, By Allah, you will never cease remembering Yusuf until you become weak with old age, or until you are dead. He said, I only complain of my grief and sorrow to Allah, and I know from Allah that which you know not. O my sons, go and inquire about Yusuf and his brother, and never give up hope of Allah's mercy. Certainly, no one despairs of Allah's mercy except the people who disbelieve. Then when they entered unto him, to Yusuf that is, they said, O ruler of the land, a hard time has hit us and our family, and we have bought but poor capital. So pay us full measure and be charitable to us. Truly, Allah does reward the charitable. When they returned and they gave the very sad news to Prophet Yaqub, their father, he didn't believe them. He did not believe what they were saying, that his son Binyamin stole, because he knows his son, and it's not of his character of his son to be a thief. That is not of his character. So he knows that what they're saying is not true. Even though they are true in what they're saying, what they are saying does not fit what he knows. What they are saying does not fit what he knows. And so he knew that they were jealous of Benjamin. He knew that they were just like they were of Yusuf before. They were jealous of Benjamin. And he remembered how they deceived him concerning Yusuf before. They gave a solemn oath, we're going to bring him back. We're just going to take him up and let him enjoy himself. And we're going to bring him back. For sure, we're going to bring him back. We're going to look out for him. And we know what happened. So, based on all of this, they are now come claiming that Benjamin was a thief. They come claiming that Benjamin was a thief and that he was detained in Egypt because of this, because he stole while he was there. And this, of course, even though, as I said, even though they were speaking the truth, Prophet Yaqub was justified in his doubting of them. One, because they were not trustworthy before with the other son. And two, what they are saying, Benjamin is a thief, what are you saying? So he's justified in his doubting of them. And so, in this case, he doesn't accept. He does not accept what they're saying. Okay? Call bal sawalat lakum anfusakum amra. He says. Bal harf al-idrar. Right? Bal, we call it harf al-idrar in grammar. A particle of digression. A particle of digression, where you use it to either correct or cancel what is said before it. You use it to divert one's attention from what they're saying before, either because you think it is false or because you think there's something more better or correct, better for you to say than that. Right? So it is a particle of digression. Right? After the drop, they call it. A particle of digression. And so it means, you say nay, or you can say on the contrary. On the contrary. Or rather, this is it. So Now, leave that. This is what it is. And so it is a digression negating what is before. And so he says, Bal sawwalatukum anfusukum. This is what he spoke to us. You saying what you have to say, but look, this is, I believe that your nafs, inspired you with some wicked deed and you do something wrong. I figured I believe you did, instead of which I believe that you just did something wrong based like what you did before with Yusuf alayhi salatu salam. I believe something wrong. Bal sawwalatukum anfusukum. I think that your soul speaks something negative to you and you followed it. I believe this was happening. Right? So this is how he responded to what they are saying. Right? This is how he responded to what they're saying. But he accepts the reality that Benjamin is gone. He accepts the reality that Benjamin is gone. And so at this point, he does what the true believer does. He does what the true believer does. And so as the Prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he knows that, he does what the true believer, in such challenging situations like this, in situations such as this, the true believer finds solace. They find solace in being patient. They find solace in being patient. That is the true believer. That is the reaction. And Yaqub is a Nabi, as a prophet, salam. This is his natural reaction for sabrun jameel. For sabrun jameel. This is the natural reaction. May Allah make us always like that. Because it is when you're hit with this serious situation like this, we always tend to react in a different manner. This is not the reaction that most people have. They blow up, they get whatever, something, but their reaction is not like this. Sabran Jameel. It's not the normal reaction that people give. So we pray that Allah would always keep us like this. So we always, we always react back to the, respond back as the believer is supposed to react. Because he knows that he doesn't know or understand the situation. He knows that. He doesn't know what happened to Yusuf. He doesn't know what happened to Benjamin. He doesn't know. And he knows this. Right? But he also knows that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the all-knower. He don't know, but Allah knows. Allah knows. Right? This is Huwa al-Alim. Allah is the best knower of my situation and whatever is going on here. He's al-Alim. He knows. I might not know what's going down, but Allah knows. So I'll be patient. And He's Hakim. Allah is wise. So I do not understand. I do not know the wisdom, but I surrender in patience. I surrender in patience. This is the correct way how we function. That we submit. We submit. Even though we cannot fully wrap our minds around what is happening, we cannot fully wrap our minds around it. Because we don't know. We don't know. But we trust Allah because Allah knows. We trust Allah because Allah knows. And Allah has power. He has power. He can change anything. He can sort anything out. And this is, it's such a powerful position that the believer is in. This is power. That is power. You have power. Control over the worst situation, you still have power. So you do not degenerate into misery and sadness and sorrow and despair and loss of hope and all. You don't degenerate. The believer do not degenerate like that, because he knows that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in charge. He knows that Allah's knowledge encompasses all things, and he comprehends all things, and he by his wisdom will set everything right. So we depend and put our trust with Sabrun Jamil. It's a powerful proposition, because it's Sabrun Jamil, and it's yes, he said Sabrun Jamil. This is a sabr, not just the patience, but a patience, an uncomplaining patience. Sabrun Jamil, an uncomplaining patience. He don't complain. He's not going to complain. I'll just be patient and wait to my Lord to work things out, because he knows. So I'll wait on him. And this is a serious position to be in. When we don't understand, and we take such a position and we surrender Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, take charge of our affairs, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala direct it in the best possible way. And the outcome is always good. The outcome is always good when we take a position. It's a hard position to take, but it's a power position. Right? It's a power position, even though it's hard to take. It's a power position. It puts you in a position of power, because you put Allah at your back to control to oversee your affairs. You surrender, submit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because you know in your heart, in your mind, and you understand within your heart that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in charge. You don't know what's going on, and it's scary what is going on. I mean, even our situation today, we look around us, it's scary. It is scary. As one brother told me, he says he got so scared in the middle of the pandemic, and people around him was dying. And he went when he goes to take care of one, and there's a whole pile of people dead, brothers, Muslims dead there. Whole pile of them he saw, dead. And he said it shook him up so much he went home. That night he said, I could not sleep. He said, I took my my certificate for my burial plot and they put it by my bed. And they put some money, I put money there with it so that they can bury me. Because he says he went to sleep. He that night he lay down thinking that he's not gonna get up again. He was so scared when he saw so much death around him. When he saw so much death around him. The believer is, it is, he never gives up. You don't know, but you know that Allah knows. And this is a powerful thing. Because the one who don't believe in Allah, he's lost. This is why he degenerates into misery. He degenerates into yes. Because he doesn't know. And he's terrified. And because they don't believe in Allah, who is a higher power, who has authority, who has control, who is able. He goes in. This is right. I mean, this message is such a powerful message for Sabrun Jameen. He surrenders, right? And this should be always our position. We should always adopt a position like that. Indeed, there are many things that will happen, and we don't understand the wisdom, right? And if you don't have the knowledge necessary or the requisite knowledge, you will not have the wisdom. Because wisdom comes from knowledge, knowing how to apply your knowledge is wisdom. But if there's no knowledge, what can you apply? Nothing. So wisdom comes from knowledge, the application of knowledge. So when you don't know, what you do? You submit and surrender to the one who knows. Right? Just strictly before we move on from this point, I mean that what comes to mind quickly of the incident of as reported Ali radiallahu anhu, he says, had this deen was by opinion, my opinion would be in must to wipe the bottom of my feet, wipe the bottom of my sock, not the top, because we know must is done like this on the top. She said, if it was by opinion, my opinion would be to wipe here, not there, because this one that got on the ground. That's according to my logic. That's according to my logic. Would be the right down here that touch the ground as opposed to the top here that don't touch the ground. He says, but I saw Rasulullah did this, so I doing it. I don't know, but he knows. Because he's the leader. He's the one that Jibril talking to, not me. So if he did it, it's the right thing to do. Anyway, if it's put the hands at the top. Or like Omar radiallahu anhu. He stands before the black stone. And he says, look, Inni a'lam ana hajar. I know for sure that you're just a stone. La tanfa'uni wa la tadur. You can't help me, no, you can't benefit me, nor can you harm me. Walawla, and had I not seen Ra'aytu Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam yuqabbil ma qabbaltu. Had I not seen Rasulullah kissing you, I wouldn't kiss you neither. No, it's a stone. I do not understand, I don't have the knowledge, so I don't understand the wisdom. Right? Because you have the knowledge, so I do not have the wisdom to comprehend why do you kiss the stone? But I see Rasulullah did it, I do it. So this is the believer. This is what we know that Allah knows, so we surrender. You know, the Prophet says, do this, we do it. Even if we don't quite understand the significance of it, we do it. Why? Because we know that He knows. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say Him to guide us and tell us, show us what to do. So we do it because He did it. The surrender is a very, 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 very key point. That is it. So he submits. He submits. Sabrun Jameel. So with patience, he submits to this. And so he's willing to move forward. He's not going to get stuck on any particular point. At this point, with this sudden, knowledge like that bad information, that bad news, it hits Yaqub alayhi salatu wasalam. وَتَوَلَّ عَنْهُمْ. So he turned away from them. He can't face them no more. Right? That news hit him, and he turns away from them. وَتَوَلَّ عَنْهُمْ. He turns away. And as he turned away, just naturally comes from him. That, that depth of grief that is renewed, because this now put him back in the spot. It then raised, this news then raised the whole issue of Yusuf alayhi salam once again. And then, it's like, it then get right back up again. It come right back and overpower him at this point. And he says, Ya Asafa ala Yusuf. Ya Asafa ala Yusuf. At this point, the sorrow hits him. And he says, oh, my son, my great sorrow and sadness of Yusuf. So he lost this, the news of the loss of Benjamin brings back the loss of Yusuf back to him right away. That deep sadness and sorrow, like the loss of Yusuf, it comes right back to him. So he, not that he's not sad over the loss of Benjamin, but the sadness, the grief at the loss of Benjamin stirs up the sadness at the loss of Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam. And so he responds, وَبْيَضَّتْ عَيْنَاهُ. And his eyes, as the literal said, his eyes became white. In other words, his sight became dim. He could not see. He went blind as a result of, as the ayah went on to point, وَهُوَ كَذِيمٌ مِنَ الْحُزْنِ. And not in al-huzn, the deep grief and sadness that he had, right, caused his eyes to weaken and go blind. وَهُوَ كَذِيمٌ, because of the grief that he was suppressing. So he could not, when they gave the news to him, he could not face them anymore. So this devastating news that they brought to him. And he turned away. And the reality of this sad news just brought back that flood of grief that he felt for Yusuf alayhi salatu wassalam. And so that sorrow hit him, because Yusuf was his beloved son. He was his most beloved child. And so he, it was a tragedy. It was a heart-rending tragedy for Yusuf, for Yaqub alayhi salatu wasalam, son Omar, to lose Yusuf. Now, here he loses Benjamin. All right. And he has been, when he lost Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam, he didn't used to complain. He had a deep sadness, but he didn't used to complain. He didn't complain to nobody. He didn't even punish the brothers of Yusuf, even though he know they're lying. Right? Because he said, Balsa, Amra. That's the first thing he said when he said to Yusuf. He told him the same thing. You can try with something. No, he didn't believe them then. Just he don't believe in them now. But he didn't do them anything. He didn't punish them. He didn't punish them. So he didn't complain to nobody. He didn't punish anybody. He didn't share his grief and sadness that this thing caused with nobody. And so he just suppressed, right? That's what Kevin al-Ghaib or Kevin al-Huzn. Kevin means to suppress and to push back on these things. And it is not an easy thing to bring your sorrow and grief under control, or your anger. It's not easy. These two things, it makes you want to scream, it makes you want to something. When that great grief and sadness hit you, you want to scream. Right? That's the reaction that you want to do. You want to cry out. Right? But he suppressed it. He didn't say anything to anybody. He just kept it inside. He just kept it inside. And this only a strong believer can do that. Only a strong believer can do that. Suppression of grief and suppression of anger. That's what the prophet says. Laysa shadidu bisur'ah. Laysa shadidu shah. This really strong person is not the one who is able to wrestle a person to the ground. He says, Innama shadidu man yamliku nafsahu inda al-ghadab. He says the truly strong person is the one who is to take control of himself when he gets angry. He wrestled himself and he put himself in check. He don't go crazy. He doesn't go crazy. No, he wrestles himself and put himself back in check. That is a strong person, not the one who loses it. The one who loses it is not a strong person, he's a very weak person. He's a very weak person. But a really strong person, he don't lose it. I mean, he has the opportunity to blow up, but he doesn't. He doesn't. He keeps it back. And this is what he did with his sadness. And so it took a toll on him. It took a toll on his body, on his health, and it took a toll on his eyes. So his eyes, it came out in his eyes. He lost his sight as a result of it, because such things, as the title said in modern day language, it puts stress on your system, right? Because stress, back then they didn't talk about stress. Now we talk about stress. It puts stress on your system and such thing. It puts stress on your system, and it's going to show up in some. That stress is going to manifest itself in something, some form of, illness or something. It manifests in your heart with a heart attack, or manifests in your system. So with blood pressure, or manifest with something. It manifests in yours. It manifested in his eyes. Right? That stress manifested in his eyes, and he went blind as a result of the stress of being a holy man. And one note here is that the prophet reminded us, the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he reminded us that the prophets, they received the greatest test and tribulation from among mankind. The prophets received the greatest test and tribulation from among mankind. We as ordinary people could not handle the kind of trials and tribulations that they face, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prepared them for such, to be able to handle such things. I mean, and to be resolute and focused. I mean, we face a little bit and we lost, and we get lost. We get confused. We get confused. But they never lose sight of who they are and what they're about, despite the tribulation. They always remain focused. And you go back, way back to Noah, right on down. Look at Noah condition, what people do with him. Right? And they make, for how long they've been messing with him? They still remain focused. Or Ayub, or Ibrahim. You can go on. All the prophets, they received serious, the trials and tribulations that they faced were always greater than everybody else. The Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, his own people, his own uncle, Abu Lahab was his uncle. He was his uncle. He was blood. It's not, he was not like anyone like Abu Jahl or something at distant, No, he was his own blood. Understand? And this is how it was. They tried to kill him. The humiliation that they did. I mean, have you read the story of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam when he was praying in the Kaaba? When he was praying with the Kaaba that afternoon. they bring the entrails of a camel and just dump it all on top of it as he was in sujood. You know, and Abu Bakr protested and beat him up. You know, and Fatima comes and she's naked and she's crying at what they do to her father. And Rasulullah said, I mean, what happened to my Ta'if? I mean, that level, you know, that still to remain focused. You don't lose it. Focus, despite that is a special status that Allah gives to the prophets. The ability to, the test is usually stronger and greater than ours, but Allah SWT prepared them to handle it. They're able to handle it and move forward. May Allah SWT help us always to be patient in circumstances and stuff. And so the people, I mean, Yusuf went off. He said he went blind. Qalu, when they saw his condition and how you know what they said to you, they said to their father Yaqub alayhi salatu wasalam, Tallahi, we swear by Allah, right? We swear by Allah, right? And of course, as we mentioned before, that we can only swear by Allah. We can say Wallahi, Tallahi, Billahi, but we cannot swear by anything or anyone else, right? So they swear by Allah, Tallahi, right? And this is best when they're speaking, because they're speaking to their father. They said, Tallahi, Tafta'u tazkuru Yusuf, you will continue to, you will not cease mentioning and remembering Yusuf, hatta takuna haradan. Hatta takuna haradan. Haradan means till it affects your health so bad, till you, I mean, it can almost kill you. This is the kind of impact on the effect it's going to have on you. Right? You need to stop. Right? You need to stop. In other words, you need to stop. Or kill you. You need to stop. You know, Yusuf is gone. Yusuf is gone. I mean, be patient. But, you know, you just got to be patient. Yusuf is gone. That's it. You need to stop this. So here they're pleading with their father. Right? Here they're pleading with their father. You know, you need to stop. Give it up. Stop. You know, Yusuf is gone. That's it. He's not coming back. So you need to stop. And so he gives a very strong, Yaqub alayhi salam gave a very strong reply to his sons. A very strong reply to his son. Look what he said. He responded, he replied to them, Innama ashku bathi wa huzni ilallah. He says, Innama, verily, surely, I only complain of my state of sadness and grief to Allah. I don't complain to nobody. I don't complain to nobody else. I don't place my case to nobody else. Right? And this is, you know, with a side note on this, it's part of patience that, you know, when things, you know, go a little wrong with it, you don't always go wrong, you know, complaining to everybody. You know, some people, you know, it's like they're always complaining. Oh, this happened, that, you know, and this and that and that, and they're always complaining. So whenever you meet them, they're always complaining about something. We should be complainers. Right? If you can complain to Allah. You complain to people who can't even do nothing, but the most thing to do is say, yes, I'm sorry. That's the most thing they can do. You understand? But complain to the one who can do something about it. Complain to Allah. Allah got the power. He can do something. But we always complaining to people, complaining about this and complaining and complaining and comes. We stop. Stop being complainers. Stop being complainers to people, because people, as I said, people don't have nothing. Yeah, they can only feel sorry for you if they do. And those who don't like you will be happy at your situation. All right. So it's best not to, complain too much. Don't complain too much. Don't be too much of a complainer. Right. And this, I guess this is what the takeaways we can take from that. He said, "Never ashku bathi wa huzni ilallah." I complain of my anguish and grief only to Allah. Only to Allah, nobody else. And this is a lesson we need to learn from that. وَأَعْلَمْ مِنَ اللَّهِ مَا لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. And I know from Allah that which you don't. I know from Allah that which you don't. And so, not only he is telling them that my complaining is not to you. I'm not complaining to you now, nobody else. I complain only to Allah. And my hope is only with Allah. Because he's the only one can help my situation. He knows it. Right? And I know from him that which you don't know. And so here, the scholar says that Yaqub is making reference to the dream of Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam. Because remember, Yusuf told him the dream, and he knows that the dream Yusuf as a prophet, that the dreams of the prophet are true. And Yusuf told him that he saw the sun and the moon and 11 stars. Remember at the beginning of the story? Prostrating to him. And this has not happened yet. Yaqub knew the interpretation of the dream. Right? He knew the interpretation of the dream. This has not happened yet. So he knows he's going to see Yusuf. He knows Yusuf is alive. And they will prostrate before him. They will bow before Yusuf. All of them. So he knows everybody is going to be there together. He does not know when. He doesn't know how. He doesn't know that the circumstances of it. But he knows that this dream is going to come true. Because the dreams of the prophets are true. But as I said, the whole circumstances of it, he don't know. And you know, it's always that as the saying goes, it is always darkest before the dawn, before the light, before the morning. It's always darkest. It gets dark, and then it comes up. So it usually gets worse before it gets better, as they say. Right? It gets worse before it gets better. So you know when it gets worse that it's about to get better. Right? Since it gets worse before it gets better, we know when it gets worse, we should know then it's going to get better. Yaqub understood this. As we said, it can get worse than this. Yeah, we said to ourselves, it can't get worse than this. So we know it's about to get better. We know it's about to get better. When it really gets really, 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 really bad, look, the dawn is coming. The dawn is coming. It's going to about to get better. So you take hope. Right? You take hope. When it get worse, people fall apart, completely fall apart. But the believer, when it gets worse, his hope gets stronger. His hope gets stronger. Because it's always darkest before the dawn. And he understands that. And so Yaqub understood this principle. And so he says, I know from Allah that which you don't know. Because he understood because he didn't tell them the dream. They didn't know. But he knew. So what he knew from Allah, they didn't. So when it reached this point, it's things about to clear up, things about to change, because now he lost Yusuf, he lost Benjamin, and he lost his eldest son. What's his name now? What was his biggest son name now? Reuben, or Reuben. But it was like Reuben, Reuben. He lost. So the three, right? Three of them gone. So here, I mean, he knows this is the darkest point. This is his darkest point. And so hope comes. Hope gets stronger because this is the darkest point. So he addresses his sons. He addressed them. He says, Ya bani yadhabu, O my sons, go fatahashasu min Yusuf wa akhihi. Dhahabu fatahashasu min Yusuf wa akhihi. Notice how he said it. Oh my sons, you go fatahashasu. Here, it means don't go, people say go and search. Yes, it's like a search, yes, but it's more than a search. It's not just open like that. It is to make subtle inquiries. Hasu, to make subtle inquiries. Because you don't really, you're trying to explore something, to discover something, because you don't know. So it's like feeling around, it's like feeling around in the dark for something. All right? You don't go out and think because you don't know what's there. So you're cautious. You're cautious because you don't know. So you go to hassle. Go and inquire, subtly check it out, see, find out what happened to Yusuf. Because here he knows right away that in a situation like this, right, in ordering him to go to, he knows that Benjamin, for sure, Benjamin is in Egypt, right? Because that's where they left him. He's held houses there, and he knows that Reuben is there because Reuben's voluntarily stayed back. He not leaving as long as Benjamin is there. I ain't leaving until we can secure him or Allah's dues. Judge this matter. I ain't coming back. I ain't leaving. And my father ordered me to come home, so he knows he's there. So he also from this, and knowing that, he seems to suspect that Yusuf might very well be there also. He suspects that Yusuf might very well be there. Since the two of them, that he might be there also. And so he says, go and investigate. Go and investigate. Go and check. Subtly question and search. Look for your brother. See if you find him too. Find him too. Because you figure if you find Benjamin, you might find Yusuf. Right? If you find Benjamin, you might find Yusuf. And once you secure these two, Reuben will come because he only did because he stayed back only because Benjamin is in captivity. So he goes, that's why he didn't mention Benjamin. He said mention these two. Go look for these two. If you find them, he's gonna come out because he knows he's there voluntarily because he's trying to secure the release of Benjamin. And so Yusuf, Yaqub alayhi salatu wasalam, sends them and says, you go and he teaches them a fundamental principle. He teaches them on a fundamental principle, or remind them on the fundamental. He says, وَلَا تَيْأَسُوا مِنْ رَوْحِ اللَّهِ. لَا تَيْأَسُوا min ruhillah. Yes, despair. Right? Despair. He says, do not despair of Allah's mercy and greatness, His beneficence. Do not despair of Allah's mercy and His beneficence. Right? You don't do that. As believers, you don't despair of Allah's mercy and His beneficence. And he emphasizes, إِنَّهُ لَا يَيْأَسُ مِنْ رَوْحِ اللَّهِ إِلَّا الْقَوْمُ الْكَافِرُونَ. He teaches them this fundamental principle that despairing of Allah's mercy and beneficence is a trait of disbelieving people. It's one of the traits of a disbelieving people. So it's a state of kufr. Is a trait of kufr, is to despair of Allah's mercy and beneficence. It is a trait of kufr. So we should never, as believers in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we can never become despairing. Or we should never become despairing, because that is a trait of kufr. It is a trait of kufr. Because if we are true believers, we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all powerful. We know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is ar-Rahman. And we know that Allah is ar-Rahim. We know that Allah is ar-Ra'uf. We know that Allah is al-Aziz. Why then would we despair if we truly believe in Him? Why? That is a trait of kufr. Only people who don't believe in Him goes that direction. Only people who don't believe in Allah, truly believe in Allah, goes that way. The one who truly believes never goes that way. This is Yusuf, this Yaqub alayhi salam teaching this principle. Never go that way. You know, I always tell you, Muslim, the true Muslim is an ultimate optimist. The true Muslim is the ultimate optimist. That saying that behind every dark cloud there's a silver lining, we know that. For us, it's not just a saying, we believe it. We even believe it. That once you move the dark cloud away, the sun is still shining. You just move the cloud, and Allah has the power to move the cloud. Huh? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has the power. We believe in the Lord who has the power to move the cloud. This is, I mean, you know, when you look at the believers, you know, I mean, I don't want to digress too much because I want to wrap up this. You know, what comes to mind of an incident of the believers, they're going out, and jihad, they're going out, and they cross in the desert, and they run out of water. They run out of water. And they're traveling, and they can't find no water. They got no water. And things really get bad. Animals start to die. And so the commander of the army stopped everybody and said, we can camp here. And they stopped the camp. And they tell everybody, you make tobe. You make tobe to Allah. Everybody make tobe. Ask Allah's forgiveness. You know, clean yourself up, purify yourself, purify your hearts. And you make salah and he makes salah and he raises his hands for istisqa. And he begs Allah to send rain. The companion who reports this, he says that the skies was completely clear. I mean, after you go in the desert, you see this, clear, nothing. You don't see nothing. It's dark. It's just clear skies. He says a black speck appeared in the distance in the sky. And then it started moving towards them after they finished the prayer. Moving towards them. And as they got closer to them, they realized it was a cloud. And the cloud came and stood over the camp. And it rained. And it poured down. And they were able to fill their skins with water. And they were able to wash and make wudu and all the other stuff. And feed the animals and everything. And he said, if you stepped outside of the camp, it was scorching hot desert. He said, if you stepped outside of the camp, it was scorching hot desert. Allah sent a cloud of rain for them alone. Allah sent a cloud full of rain for them alone. Just like a mother. The people got, over 1,000 people over there. 317 Muslims on this side, ill-equipped. Allah sent the rain. Allah sent the rain at night. Right? Before the battle the next day, Allah sent the rain. On the side of the Muslims, the rain is light. So it makes the ground solid. Right? It makes the ground. Over there, it's heavy, so it makes it slushy. Change the condition, change the odds in the battle one time. Change the odds of the battle, or change the odds in the battle, right? Just like it said some rain. Change the odds in the battle. This is believers. I mean, and there's so many stories. So many stories like this. Situation is terrible. And Allah SWT sorted it out. Allah put it straight. So when we believe in Allah, like you, I mean, look at the prophets. Look at Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. The enemy is standing right there. Abu Bakr says, if all they need is to look to their feet, if they bend down like this and look, they would have seen the Prophet and him inside of there. Right there. So he's terrified. What? As they say, the saying is that Allah protected them with a spider web. I mean, what is a spider web? What is a spider web? So, this is the kind of faith we have. Ibrahim and the fire. And we can go on, story after story after story after story after story, and they're not false stories. These are real incidents that took place for those who know. Right? So this is the position that we should always be in. We should always try as believers. May Allah SWT always keep us in this position. Do not despair of the mercy and beneficence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protects us. Why Allah says, La taqnatu min rahmatillah, inna Allah yaghfiru dhunuba jami'a. Do not despair of Allah's mercy. No matter what you do, no matter what you have done. No matter what you have done, do not despair of Allah's mercy. No matter what, it doesn't matter what you've done. Don't despair of Allah's mercy. Look, you see, do not despair of Allah, because Allah can forgive any sin. It doesn't matter what it is, including shirk. Including shirk. So if you mushrik, worshiping idols, and you decide to give it up and ask Allah's forgiveness, Allah can forgive you. You say you can give it up. You can ask Allah to forgive you for doing that. Allah can forgive you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives everything. This is what, you know, so it is, it's, I think we should stop at this point. I think our time is up. I don't want to go too far over our time. I was going to start the other part, but if I start the other part, we can continue, we can run over time, you know, too far over time. So, inshallah, I know we did up to that ayah, up to ayah 88. And we read up to ayah 88, but we didn't do. But if we start at ayah 88, we can go over. So, inshallah, let's stop there and continue this in our next session, inshallah. Any quick comment or question before we close off?
You said, once you fear Allah's mercy, I like somebody wanted something, right? And you said, don't you fear His mercy? I felt like that, you know? I felt like that. Yesterday, the guy came. I told the guy, you're not getting no more, you know, no voice. He said that, how did you get there with mercy? I said to myself, you know what the situation was with him, you know, so, you know, I want to tell him again, you know, that I'm going to do something for me. But, you just don't despair, like I told you yesterday. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you don't despair. I mean, Allah will always work it out. Allah, there is nothing that is too big or too great or too hard or too difficult for Allah to sort it out. Nothing. Because Allah is, He is Al-Aziz. Al-Aziz means He is the Almighty. That's one of the attributes of Allah. Al-Aziz, the Almighty. Yeah, and I'm English first. Subhanakallah bihamdika, nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk.
Say,